Test 1, 2.
It's exciting stuff.
Staff ready? Commissioners ready?
Yes.
All right. In that case, I would like to call this meeting to order. This is the Planning Commission regular meeting of December 7th, 2021. We welcome everyone here tonight. And if you are here to present or make any sort of comment or add to our meeting, we request that you come to the podium, sign your name and address, please, and be sure and speak into the microphone so we can all hear you. And if the comments become lengthy, then we will ask you to shorten your speech and finish up quickly if that occurs, just so you have kind of the rules of the road. And with that said, I'd like to ask our planner, Jake, to call roll.
Thank you, Chairperson. We're now taking roll. Commissioner Romine?
Here.
Vice Chairperson O'Day?
Here.
Commissioner Richards?
Here.
Commissioner Howden?
Here.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Here.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Here.
Chairperson Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Nichols.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jake. At this time on our agenda, I think we have the public comment section of our meeting tonight. If you are here to ask a question, make a comment, this is the time to do so. These are for comments and questions that are not being addressed with the regular agenda items tonight. So if there's anyone here to make a comment, please make your way forward to the podium and introduce yourself, and we'll be glad to listen. I don't see anybody that's here to talk to us tonight for those particular reasons. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and move on to our regular agenda items tonight. And the first is to approve the Planning Commission minutes for October 7, 2021. This is for the study session and also for the regular meeting of October 7th, 2021. Chair would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We do a roll call vote, please. Did you get the motion and second?
Sorry.
Nichols and Romine?
Now take vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, were there any comments about the minutes? Any amendments to be made? Now we'll take the vote.
Commissioner Romine,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Howden,
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd,
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc,
Yes.
Chairperson Davis,
Yes?
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion is carried.
Oh, thank you for passing the minutes. And we can now move on to, do we have old business? Public hearings, there we go.
Yep.
I think our first public hearing tonight is for a special use permit. And this is going to be managed under resolution number SU 21-5. This is a request for a special use permit to operate a restaurant with a drive-through within the property located at 2843 West 76 Country Boulevard, Branson, Missouri. In order to get this action on the table and then to be able to lead us into discussion and action and comments by the public who may have come, Chair would entertain a motion approving resolution SU 25-5.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion made by Vice Chair, second by Commissioner Lloyd. Now, at this point, we'll move on to some explanations.
Yes, thank you. We have our applicant and owners listed here on the first screen for you, as well as the current zoning of the property and the applicant's request, as mentioned in the title, being a restaurant with drive-through within our entertainment district, which requires a special use permit. Next, going through our vicinity maps, our first one is being the overhead aerial. The subject property is outlined here in purple for your reference. It's on the north side of West 76 Country Boulevard, and you can see it's between Glory Road just to the east, and then Francis and Rosalie there to the west. Next is the vicinity map showing the current zoning. As stated, it's entertainment, mostly surrounded by other properties zoned entertainment. We do have a couple of planned developments in the area to the south of the property. Those are the ones shown in the blue or cyan. And then you see a little bit of low-density residential there to the southwest. We also include the existing land use for the property in the area. This particular property does have the lodging component on it. However, there is the Getting Basted restaurant that's also included on the property today. And then you notice quite a bit of commercial, entertainment, and lodging uses in the area. We also include the 4 orthometric views if we need them for reference during our item or discussion. And then getting into the details of the request. So the property today, as I just mentioned, has the Getting Basted restaurant, which that will remain based on the proposed site plan. the Bald Knobbers Motor Inn, which is proposed to be removed per the site plan. And then the Bald Knobbers Motor Inn, there was an office building pool area that will be renovated by the applicant, and we'll show you here momentarily what that looks like. The restaurant that will be moving into that office building and pool area is going to be known as Bahama Bucks. They're proposing to have a 4,300 square foot renovated building with a drive-through window, which is the need for the special use permit. They're proposing to locate that drive-through window on the side of the building, particularly the west side of the building. And more particularly, when they renovate the restaurant that's there today, they're looking to fill the pool that's to the rear of that building and provide an area for outdoor seating, both in the front of the property and to the rear. The stacking lanes is one of the most important things that we look at with any drive-through. With this particular request, they are showing it located in the side yard and the rear yard, which is to the west and to the north of the property. And they're showing approximately 320 feet of length, which our calculation for a typical vehicle that we use for stacking lanes is 20 foot. So therefore, we get about 16 cars that this drive-through can fit. So it's quite extensive drive-through. So they have more than ample space, definitely, for that function of the restaurant. One of the other things that we'll show you here momentarily on their site plan that really caught our eye was approximately 37-foot wide green space between their stacking lanes and the property line. We believe this will be for additional outdoor seating opportunities for folks and just some space that their customers can utilize as a place to rest and relax. There will be access to the drive-through in the property from both West 76 Country Boulevard as well as Wonderworks. Menu board is also a component of most drive-throughs. This is also being proposed to be located in their rear yard, so behind the building to the north. The drive-through entrance will be located more than 50 feet from the nearest intersection, which, as we all know, 76 Country Boulevard is a 3-lane arterial. So we always have our engineering team review these for traffic concerns or vehicular circulation. And they're actually proposing to reduce a curb cut and remove the existing monument freestanding sign on the property. So because of that, that really made the situation much, much better. Overall, their site plan that they've proposed does comply with Branson Municipal Code Section 94-87 from a layout and circulation standpoint. So the actual site plan itself, so just to orient you, north is actually, I believe it's actually to the right on this image. It shows to the top, but it's actually to the right. So just when we're referencing things, the rear of the property is north and the sides are east and west, and then the front of the property is to the south. As you can see, going through some of the details we just mentioned, this is the Getting Basted restaurant. This is the former Bald Knobbers office building and pool. And then this is where the Bald Knobbers Motel is currently located, that again is being shown to be removed and turned into parking. However, just to kind of focus everyone's attention this evening, their special use permit is for the drive-through part of the use. You can see the stacking lane, as I mentioned, quite extensive, can be accessed from both this location as well as this location in the rear, depending on how many cars are in the queue. They are removing a curb cut that was located here to, again, kind of make the circulation through the property more efficient. We also have a couple of images that were provided by the applicant just to give a sense of what the building may look like in the future with this use. Again, just to highlight the outdoor seating, which is very much complementary to what the 76 plan is to really add energy and excitement along that corridor. So we believe having the outdoor seating and this additional use on the property does all those things. As a result, staff recommends approval of the request. However, based on the following conditions: number one, that all construction and activities covered by the special use permit shall conform to all codes and ordinances of the city. And number two, the proposed business shall apply for and receive a business license from the city of Branson, and that license shall remain in good standing. And number three, if all conditions of this resolution authorizing the issuance of this special use permit are not acted upon or before December 7th, 2022, this special use permit shall be null and void. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe we do have a applicant representative with us this evening to also answer any questions.
Okay, well, let's invite the applicant to come up, and if the Commissioner has questions for Joel, we'll have you hold them for a moment. Welcome. Are you Ms. Crayer?
I I am
Hi.
Kelsey Carrera with Harrison French and Associates. Thanks for having us here tonight to talk about the property and our proposed special use.
If you would sign in, we'd appreciate it. Give you a moment. Welcome to the podium. Thank
I
you,
wrote as
Kelsey.
quickly as I could.
Tell us about your project and Bahama Bucks. And
Sure. So Bahama Bucks is a snow cone business. That's what they sell is snow cones. I've never had the chance to go to one, but hopefully someday soon. We are.
I'm sorry, just to make sure everybody that's listening on the internet can hear you, just if you don't mind, speak a little.
Sure. Okay, that sounds more microphony. So as I went through in the presentation, we are demoing the existing building with the exception of the current kind of lobby check-in area, which we will utilize for the snow cone operation. So that's where the staff working will make all the snow cones, and then we are filling in the pool, and we'll have some outdoor seating as shown in the renderings. We think we've hopefully have enough stacking spaces with the 16. We think that the site should operate pretty efficiently. We have a lot of room for outdoor seating, so that's the goal of the business, is to, be a spot that people can come, get a snow cone, and kind of spend some time in the area. So I'm happy to answer any questions about our proposal.
Commission?
I have a couple of quick questions.
Commissioner Lloyd, what?
Maybe Joel will answer part of this, but are you connected to the other restaurant? Are you independent restaurants? Or?
The Getting Basted restaurant, it's the same owner for that restaurant that is the owner of this snow cone shop.
So my question was, with that map, was they're going to share the parking lot, I guess, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, and we encourage that, so that's wonderful.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Commissioner Nichols will be next.
Have you, and I don't know, maybe this is for you, Joel, but are there renderings of what the SID's going to do when the 76 project moves through that area? And I wonder if they've taken that into account. I realize we're only working on the stack back and drive-through issue tonight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the design for the corridor has already been implemented what we had. So there was no design work done outside of that initial area.
Yeah, so no.
So what we do with anyone we have the opportunity to talk with about redevelopment along the corridor is to just let them know of that project, make them aware of that project, and obviously encourage them when the time comes to be a part of that project. There is quite a bit of width. You can see the amount of green space between their parking areas and parking lot circulation and the proposed building outdoor seating that we believe provides ample opportunity for there to be creative solutions to that pedestrian way along that side of the roadway. Obviously, our primary concern is the duck bank and the new water line, but obviously we want to also improve the pedestrian experience. That was always a main goal as well. And so we really believe that having the outdoor seating, the opportunity for pedestrians to walk up and grab a snow cone is again adding to the corridor and the energy in the corridor.
It looks fantastic. Commissioner O'Day, do these setbacks look like they're commensurate with the type of thing that you guys adjusted to down at Hollywood Wax?
Yeah, I mean, without being able to,
I see no specific widths, but relative.
yeah, so your duck bank is 5 foot off back of curb is typically where it's set. And if I remember correctly, our easement was about 15 foot off back of curb. So that left a 5 foot green space, 8 foot sidewalk, and another area for green space between that. So, I mean, it looks nice. It looks like it would fit just fine for it.
Up at the narrow end, it looks like it's maybe about and that 10-foot setback for the green space is a radius, isn't it? So I just wondered if, when the corridor comes up that way and the sidewalk comes through that way, if they're going to have to change up the way the traffic flows out of that based on making that green space deeper up there at the 10-foot end.
Yeah,
Do you
and-
see that as even a possibility?
Well, I mean, it all can be discussed and analyzed and reviewed when they get to that point. All you have to do is go through the first portion of the project and see all the different situations.
Yeah.
There are some situations where there was lots of space and lots of opportunity, and then there are other spaces where the buildings are right up to the property line, and so you could simply provide a new sidewalk, and that was all you could accomplish there. And I would say to that point that this is an existing property where the applicant, the owner, already has an existing functioning business and getting basted, and they're utilizing another existing building as opposed to rebuilding. And yes, they're adding on the deck for outdoor seating opportunities, but the majority of that being to the rear of the property. So, again, we appreciate the team's effort, the applicant's effort, because they did revise their site plan based on some preliminary comments provided by staff and made some really quality adjustments to improve the circulation within the property. And, we believe it's going to be far more of a benefit or addition to the corridor, having this business be there and work through those details of the pedestrian improvements when we get there.
I appreciate the extra information. Thank you.
And just for record, a couple of spots, the Music Road Mall next door to the Wax Museum, similar to this, with that golf course has just the sidewalk right next door to the Wax Museum. Even the Waffle House has just the sidewalk with no green space.
The proposed undergrounding is on the opposite side of the street through that section, isn't it?
Well, the undergrounding is on that side, on the Wax Museum side of the street.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the vaults were on the opposite side.
No. I believe.
Irrelevant to this, but I appreciate the additional info.
Yeah, and just to kind of further expand some thoughts here, if you don't mind listening, what's always made that corridor fantastic is its uniqueness and different from property to property, that it's not a uniform corridor. And I think that's the uniqueness of it, right? So every property is going to be different, and every experience the pedestrian encounters as they move down the corridor is going to be different. And so we shouldn't be shooting for a uniform type of look all the way down. And so those changes and, some wider, some not as wide, will, I think, add to that and be a positive.
Looks great. Thank you.
Commissioner Howden has a question.
Yes, sir. Joel, is there quite a bit of a slope between where those chairs are and where 76, like the sidewalk sits?
I'm trying to visualize it. I think there is. Again, those are going to be some design challenges for the team and things that I'm sure they've looked at as well.
Yeah, if we could go, maybe click back to the rendering.
Oh, yeah,
You can kind of see we have it raised up.
I see.
There is a grade change there,
Got it. But the ramp will kind of assist people to walk up.
right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Kelsey, I have a question regarding, go back to the site plan if you would. Internal pedestrian ways, since they're same owners, I don't see listed or shown on there any pedestrian ways within the property, across, east-west, across the property. And, the concern of the commissioners, rightfully so, and the directors, we want to see the street front pedestrian way be effective and attractive and ample. But within your property, have you considered that, people walking back and forth across the stacking lane and over to the main restaurant, over to the parking area?
Yeah, we could take it more into consideration as we develop the plans further. We've got a couple of spots called out for pedestrian crossing, but we can make them more clear.
All right, thank you. Commission, have any other questions for either staff or for the applicant? Thank you. You might want to stay right where you are. Does anyone here that came to join us tonight want to come to the podium and ask questions regarding this request for the special use permit, either to speak in favor or in opposition to this permit? Okay, hearing none, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I hear any additional discussion on the part of the commission? Any amendments or changes that are wanting to be made? In that case, we'll take a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chairperson. Now open vote. Commissioner Romine?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Richards?
Yes.
Commissioner Howden?
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairperson Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Vote's now closed. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for coming to town. Get to work. Next item on our agenda shifts over to a zoning request for zoning change, and the applicant in this case is us, the city of Branson.
Excuse me, Chairperson Davis, I need to recuse myself from item 3, please.
All right, so let the record show that Commissioner Richards is not participating in discussion or vote of this item. So we have before us then resolution number Z021-7, which is a request for a zoning change from medium-density residential to high-density residential for the properties located within blocks 3, 4, and 5 of the Lucia subdivision, Branson, Missouri. In order to get this item on the floor and begin discussion with the staff report, I would appreciate a motion and a second to this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
A motion made by Nichols, second by Vice Chair O'Day. This time, Joel, would you give us the explanation in your director's report and recommendation and background on what led to this change of zoning?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and foremost, want to point out that the city of Branson has this opportunity through the code section 94-7B. It's one that we've rarely utilized, but it has existed for quite some time. It's really to ensure orderly zoning and development within the community. It gives the city the opportunity to zone things as they see fit to as I said, help with the orderly development of the community. We utilized it probably the heaviest when we came up with our new zoning districts a couple years back and rezoned the entire city. We called it remapping the entire city at the time, but utilized the same code then. So as mentioned in the title, we are looking to rezone not only the old school property that you see here on the screen, which is part of blocks 3, 4, and 5 in the Lucia subdivision, just to the west here of City Hall, but also several other properties that we'll get into here momentarily, from the medium-density residential to high-density residential. Again, we have our aerial vicinity map showing the collective properties that are included in this request. You'll see the old school and the adjacent property, open space, as being the largest components of the request. However, there are other multiple properties with single-family homes and now nightly rentals that are also included in this request. Essentially, it's bordered by College Street to the north, 3rd Street to the east, Maddox Street to the south, and then 6th Street to the west. Next is the current zoning of these properties. Again, you can see they're medium-density residential. They do sit adjacent to properties zoned neighborhood commercial to the north and to the east, and then medium-density residential properties to the south and to the west. And again, the proposed zoning to be high-density residential, and you can see how that fits in between the neighborhood commercial and the medium-density residential.
Joel, before you go back to that, okay, so in the middle of that middle block, there's a utility easement or a road or something like that.
That's a platted alleyway that was never vacated by the city. You can also see that to the north in those blocks to the north as well as to the east, a portion of that. However, this portion of the alleyway had been vacated. I don't know the exact timing. You can also see another portion of an adjacent alleyway that had been vacated at some point. Usually that's when adjacent property owners expressed interest to the city and requested that vacation, and obviously then the city thought it was appropriate and necessary to make that vacation.
So that'd be a future possibly.
Yeah, any adjacent property owners could definitely make that request, absolutely.
Thank you.
Then the existing land use map showing there's kind of a mix of both residential uses. However, it is labeled that the old school is institutional, but as we all know in the room, that school hasn't functioned as school for many years. There's also several vacant properties in the area, and some more commercial uses you can see on the edges of our map. We also have our orthometric views if we need to reference them. And then getting into the details. So the request in total includes 19 properties that total just under 5 acres in size. We've highlighted already that the former Branson High School is a big part of this area, but there's also single-family residential structures that exist today within the area. And there are several nightly rentals that were constructed along College Street within the past year that also exist within this property area. Unfortunately, when we did our future land use plan with the Community Plan 2030, high-density residential was not a zoning district that was part of that discussion and included in the plan. It was something that was added later to add another kind of grain of detail or level of detail into our zoning districts. And so therefore, there's no designation on our future land use plan to show where those areas should exist. So we don't have that, unfortunately, to reference. However, we do believe, because of its adjacency with the neighborhood commercial and the other properties zoned medium density residential, that it provides a more appropriate transition or buffer between those other areas of the neighborhood that are single-family homes from the neighborhood commercial area. We have obviously been trying to have redevelopment of the old school since the city purchased it back in 2011. And we have had some interest over the years. Particularly, there was a group out of Kansas City that we were very close a couple of times. However, their offer was contingent on getting Missouri Housing Department dollars, and they were unsuccessful in getting those in the 2 years they applied. And so, unfortunately, that contract was never followed through on that purchase. We do believe there is a need to get that property redeveloped so it doesn't continue to be an eyesore on the neighborhood. And we believe that this change in zoning may help increasing interest on the property and redevelopment potential. The medium density residential district, as you know, has less maximum density opportunities than the high density residential district. So we think that increasing the amount of allowable units within the property as well as the adjacent properties may get somebody interested in taking this property on and having a positive contribution to the neighborhood and the housing situation currently in the city. So with that, the staff recommends approval and obviously happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joel. Commission have questions of Joel at this point. We're going to go ahead and entertain those, and then we'll open for public comment after that. I see that Commissioner Howden has a question. Please go forward.
Thank you, sir. Joel, are rehabilitation facilities, is that considered civic or institutional?
No, so it really comes down to what's the use. So I guess I would say, depending on how it got rehabbed, right? If it was rehabbed to be residential units, that would be residential. If it's rehabbed to be a school or a nonprofit space, then that would fall into some other use category.
Sure. Sorry, I think I maybe worded it a little bit wrong, but wasn't the Church Army institution within this building at one point?
No, not to my knowledge. So there are other nonprofit organizations located to the south of these properties, further down 6th Street, that have been there for many, many years. But to my knowledge, there's never been any non-for-profits other than the school district located on the city's properties.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I've got a question, Joel. Is the city aware of any potential plans to actually redevelop this property?
So it's my understanding that there is an interested party, and so that's something to pursue for sure. And I think that's something the Board of Aldermen may have had discussions about, or at least been introduced to them. At this point, I don't know all the specific details, but I believe there is some interest out there. One thing I'll add to about the previous agreements that we had with the group I mentioned out of Kansas City earlier was part of their purchase agreement also included the successful zoning change of the property from medium density to high density. So that former group could only make it work if the density allowance increased and if they got dollars from the state. So, that's kind of, again, why we're here today, because anybody that's been close to making a firm offer on the property has needed the increase in density.
Can you preconceive any concerns that the city or this board commission might have about potential uses by going to high density relevant to the surrounding properties?
Had you asked that question 10 years ago, I think I would have had a different response. However, because the school has sat there vacant for so many years, and I don't think it's reached the potential that the community had hoped that it would, that at this point now we're trying to, as I said, have more of a positive impact on the neighborhood than it has up to this point. And we believe this will help in doing that, to have it redeveloped and have, residential units that add to the community, offer people a place to live. We have a definite need for housing. This is a great neighborhood for housing, great location for housing, close to major streets, close to jobs, close to the downtown, close to the hospital. There's a lot of benefits to have increased housing in this neighborhood, and medium-density residential definitely does maintain that. Today, being zoned medium-density residential, they could do nightly rental. High density, however, because this is a city-owned property, we have some creative opportunities there where we may be able to limit that from happening in the future, which would be a positive as well. Again, you're getting people that would be contributing to the neighborhood for extended amounts of time instead of just a night at a time. The decision for the city to purchase the property, I think, was still a positive one because they can be a big part of the reason of what happens to that property. But now we are coming to you all with this request to take it to the next step.
So this is an opportunity for us to set up a situation where we can have some more affordable housing, which might help our challenges with workforce and economic development.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely too early to say in this setting whether it'll be affordable or what the price point will be.
Understood.
I mean, that's definitely going to be up to the developer to decide that. So I'd hate to plant that seed in anybody's head to think that it's going to be a certain price point. But I think additional housing in the community, it's all good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Quick question, Joel, does the city own the whole purple part of that or just the school part?
So the city is the owners currently of this parcel, which is the main parcel with the school, as well as this kind of L-shaped parcel, which had been the playground for the school. It just happens to be two separate parcels.
So then the property owner that owns the rest of it is in the loop of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so just as we did when we went through the remapping process a couple of years ago, we reached out to each individual property owner with letters, letting them know of this process, both to fulfill the requirement of neighbor notification, but also to let these property owners know that we were doing this. And the staff has fielded multiple phone calls and multiple emails from a handful of the owners. And usually their simple question is, how will this affect me, if at all? And it won't. It will not affect them. They can continue to have single-family homes and live there. They can continue to have nightly rentals if they choose to, and those can continue to operate. There's nothing that changes that for any of them.
Thank you.
Joel, the history on this building was maybe of some interest and significance because it was a building that became acquired by the city from the school district, how many years ago now?
2011. Yep.
2011. And there was a study done on this by some grant money that said the building was sound and could function nicely within a neighborhood being converted into residential. Architectural folks from all over the country convened, a report was written, and had this building set in a more of an urban environment, maybe a larger metropolitan area, that probably would have worked. Hindsight is better than we had foresight at that period of time, and it's set here too long now, and it needs to have something done. My question, rambling about, is after all that effort and hope and work done to try to rehabilitate an old building just so that Clark Harris's old classroom wouldn't get torn down, now it looks like it's probably going to get torn down. Is that your opinion? Joel?
I can't say with certainty. Again, that'll be up to the developer, but the conversations we've had with previous people interested in the property, it always came back to that, was to be able to make any project pencil, they would need to remove the building. And kind of to go on your comment, let's not all forget that a good portion of this building was removed by the tornado in 2012. That happened after the city purchased the property, and so a big portion of the building along College was removed at that time.
So any other questions by the commission? If you've come tonight to speak or ask a question regarding this resolution for a zoning change, we would invite you to the podium now. Please come forward and register and ask your question. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further discussions or amendments, changes to this resolution by the part of the commission? We'll take a roll call vote, please. Planner Jake.
Thank you, Chairperson. Vote's now open. Commissioner Romine?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Richards? Commissioner Howden?
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairperson Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Let the record show that Commissioner Richards did not participate in the vote. Okay, at this time, we're moving right through the meeting tonight. That's great. And with some melancholy sadness, it is time to mention that our Director, Joel Hornicle, this is his last meeting. He's moving on to a great job back in the private sector, following his heart, I think, and an opportunity. And in order to help celebrate that, it's, I think, fitting for us to kind of remember from whence we came. And so I've had the pleasure of inviting several special guests to attend tonight, and I see they're here. And I didn't surprise Joel. I let him know you guys were going to be here yesterday, I told him. And so I would like to invite my guests to come one at a time up and say a few words, good or bad or otherwise, about Joel Hornicle. And our first one, very, very welcome to see Rayanne Presley, our former mayor. She's at least greatly responsible for Joel being here, in that she was guiding the boat at that time. Welcome, Rayanne. Thank you for coming. And
well, thank you, Chairman Davis and Commissioners. I'm certainly pleased to be back at City Hall and happy to be here because, really, truly, I just couldn't let Joel leave the city of Branson without expressing my personal gratitude for his service to our city and community. We can all list the careers that are less embraced by consumers, and here in our city, I know that the Planning and Development Department comes with its own set of opinions and challenges. Seems like there are always 7 sides to every issue, and balancing that is a true art. Joel came to our city in 2009, and I had the good fortune of working alongside Joel for 6+ years. His rise through the department to his current role as director allowed our city to capture his talents and knowledge, and we're the richer for his service. Joel was instrumental in several initiatives that I believe set our city on a path towards improved long-term planning that more clearly reflected the views of our residents and businesses. I wanted to remind us of a few of these, some that I was privileged to help with, and several more recent. Joel turned our focus on neighborhoods into a collaborative and meaningful effort. Bringing the departments and city leaders to talk one-on-one with citizens and ultimately the granting of dollars for improvements in neighborhoods was a new and exciting outreach. The floods, multiple, and tornado in 2012 also placed a strain on our planning department. In times of crisis, I admired Joel's steady hand and ability to provide data in a format that our public and city needed to make long-range decisions about next moves. We asked a lot of the department as we considered Branson's smoke-free ordinance. And again, Joel helped us reach compromises while still focused on the collective health of our community. All city leaders need these experts focused on the details to create codes that truly function years down the road. There were also sign code updates, nuisance codes, welcoming of numerous new businesses, both small and large. In my opinion, the ultimate accomplishment of Joel and the entire city team was the 2030 comprehensive plan. The amount of hours, juggling of priorities, and communication to the residents and the leaders was vast. I heard over and over from the steering committee and public how much they admired Joel's leadership. I want to thank Joel's wife, Stephanie, and his children, since we know the strongest team member has the support and needs the support of his family and friends. I'm sad that Joel is leaving, but know that he is very much devoted to his family and our community, and this isn't the last we'll hear from him. The very brightest always have multiple opportunities to choose from, and I'm grateful that Joel chose to give 12-plus years of his life to Branson. Our entire region is better for his vision, his skill, and his knowledge. Steve and I wish you much joy and satisfaction, Joel, as you move down to this next phase of your life.
Thank you, Rayanne. Next, we're going to invite the person that Joel literally worked elbow to elbow with for most of his career, former Chairman Clark Harris, former Chairman of this Planning Commission. Welcome, Clark, my friend.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you, Commissioners, because I know what it takes to be a Commissioner and spend the time and effort that you do with all of this. Sitting out there this time rather than up there with you, I reflect upon those times in which you had to prepare, you had to think, you had to go out, you had to look over the properties. You spent a lot of time making decisions that affect a lot of people. The old school, been there for so long, and now time to move it on to something else. All of those things take time and effort, and it's all guided by Joel. And for the past 10, 12 years and over 120 meetings that we sat through together, I'm sure, plus all the pre-meetings, et cetera, have led me to understand that Joel's whole emphasis was on professionalism. Whenever we needed to talk about something ahead of time, or you had to spend time with the chairperson coming up with some ideas, Joel always had the best interests of the citizens at heart. And for Joel's efforts and time, and I know his dedication to the people who both visit here and who live here, you just can't question his motivation. And the city will miss him. And I do, like Rayanne said, wish him the very best. And I know with Stephanie and the kids, lots of great things are going to happen, Joel. You got some really good times ahead of you. We'll miss you here, and the commission will miss you, but I wish you the very best, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Clark. Last but not least, a former one of us, Commissioner Michael Pinkley, former commissioner, and probably one of the more regular attenders of all of our meetings. Thank goodness we have people like Michael Pinkley. He and Joel have worked together for many, many years on Michael's own projects and those that are good for the community. Welcome, Michael Pinkley.
Thank you, and wow, these guys, it's hard to follow them. So I'm just going to be brief, and I just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure to just working with Joel, but I really came here because I thought it was a roast.
Go ahead.
But since that didn't happen, seriously, I will be brief. I first met Joel in 2009 when he was working on monument sign designs for the Hiawatha neighborhood. Since then, I've had the good fortune of working directly with Joel on a number of projects as a developer and as well as receiving guidance and assistance as a former P&Z commissioner from him. Also to say that Joel has always been focused on moving the needle forward for Branson. His commitment to our community, stakeholders, and region is always on display. As Director of Planning and Development, he was the driving force behind development and implementation of our Community Plan 2030. Additionally, working collectively with planning staff, all city departments, and the P&Z Commission, successfully updated and improved, all development-related codes and those that Rayanne mentioned. Finally, as of late, he managed the implementation of the city's online portal, allowing digital submissions for review and permitting. I was personally happy to be one of the first users of this new service and assist with feedback going through the process. And thanks to all planning staff for that. I just want to thank you for your leadership and your service to Branson, Joel, and I've appreciated your professionalism and always enjoyed working with you. Wishing you and your family the very best as you take on this next exciting new challenge, and please don't be a stranger to Branson. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I also note that thank you for the kind words and the effort to come and talk to Joel tonight. I also noticed that we have Alderman Skanes and Alderman C in the House tonight, and I think we might have a few words from the Board of Aldermen through one of our close alderman ties. You used to sit up here with us, Bill.
I'm not hugging you.
There's
It's not
still a
going to happen.
5-minute limit, right?
Yeah.
Mayor,
5
you
minutes.
hugged him. You
5
hugged him
minutes.
for me. I'm not hugging him.
The esteemed.
The esteemed, the strange. Joel, you've been the consummate professional. You and I have had several conversations, and I will truly say to all of you, the man has been treated unfairly by members of the public. There have been things said about him that are lies and untrue. I've had the utmost respect for this man. Bob and I and Joel worked hours upon hours working on this sign code to totally rework it from one end to the other, and he was always a consummate professional there. The measure of a supervisor is the respect that you get from your staff. And I've never heard one negative word in all the amount of time that I've been here. This is my second term, going on third, Marshall. Some of the best things that I've ever heard about any of the supervisors in here have come out of your staff talking about you. And that's a measure of greatness. I have personally called him and thanked him and told him he had our support after he had sat through some harrowing, very long meetings where people have said things about him that I knew that weren't true, and I wanted to make sure that I called you the next day and let you know that we supported you as a whole. As far as legacy on planning and zoning, my father-in-law, Mitt Harris, served on planning and zoning. My brother-in-law, John Morley, served on planning and zoning. One of my closest friends, Peter Engler, served on planning and zoning. I served on planning and zoning. And it has quite a legacy in this community. But what you gave back to it is something that others, I don't think necessarily, well, I'm not going to say they didn't have, but you gave it a measure of integrity that the department really, really needed. So based upon that anyway, and me asking you to say nothing but the best things about you, because he's already said that before, is that I'm going to ask the board for a proclamation of celebration for your service. It's not very often that you have people like Joel that serves in these positions. And as I have thanked each one of you before for serving, it's very difficult these days to find anybody who want to serve, much less show up for a meeting. And it's very, very important that we appreciate that as a board, exactly what you do every time, because we don't have the sexiest of roles sometime until you get in the Board of Aldermen meeting and get told that Dr. Fauci took up at Rutgers University and he 5G radiated this disease and sent it to Wuhan, China, and you have to hear it at every meeting. Mayor, I know you understand what I'm talking about. Joel, we love you. I will not hug you. But thank you for the bottom of my heart for what you've done for Branson. We owe you more than a debt of gratitude. Thank you.
Well said. All right, we'll ask if anybody else has any good words to say. Yes. Chad, wonderful. Let's hear it. Let's hear it well. Use your own technology, Chad.
So I'm not going to say anything that, so eloquently has already been said, but Joel, from the city staff, from the directors, you truly are a professional in every way. I, for years, have been jealous because every time I meet with you in your office, everything's just like so and perfect. And I'm like, how does he keep his office this clean? I have no idea. You might have OCD, I'm not sure. But seriously, every time we've ever had a project together, again, the respect that you get from your peers, from your staff, whom I've talked to on multiple occasions just today, that are very bummed that you're leaving and going on. They're happy for you, but they're bummed because they respect you and and they should. Thank you from all the directors. We appreciate your service, and you'll be missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chad. All right, well, we've come to the conclusion here. Joel, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to go down there. I may lose it, and I don't want to be down there when I do. No, this is incredible. Thank you. Such an amazing send-off, and
Well deserved.
Yep.
Man, well deserved.
Yep. You'll be missed, brother.
knew this was the group to do this with. So thank you, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good time, and good time to go. Thanks.
That's right. You'll do well wherever you go.
It's all good, brother.
All right. Let's call this one to a close. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion. Richard, second. Romine. Go ahead. If you would, Jake, call the roll.
Commissioner Romine?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Richards?
Yes.
Commissioner Howden?
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairperson Davis?
With sadness.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.